I'm so happy to see people are entering their information. We have postpartum doulas. Camille, thanks for being here. You show your love through food. We got some doulas, childbirth educators, moms.
Amazing.
Yay.
I see.
Cool. Preconception phase. Wonderful. Yay, we've got 16 people. I'll wait just one more minute, and then we'll get started. I think we're already recording our little chat.
While we're waiting, do you want to tell folks how you would like questions during this conversation today? If there's going to be reserved time for questions, or if you want them to use the Q&A function to ask those questions as you go, that might be helpful for this time.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. So thank you all for introducing yourselves in the chat. You can feel free to, just as people arrive, just introduce yourselves. You guys can talk to each other if you want to. The Q&A function is at the bottom of your screen, and you can just open that, go into open questions and just ask whatever you want, whenever you want. We are going to talk for about 45 minutes or so. We're going to see how our conversation flows, and then we're going to have time for questions at the end. But I might also be looking at the Q&As while we're talking. And so if, something is kind of in the flow of our chat, we can answer it. And both Han and I love just like connecting with people, and it's like, a huge part of the work. So please participate, and feel free to ask any questions that you're inspired to ask. Anything to add to that, Han?
No, I completely agree. I think this is a very safe space. I always like to create that, and I always like to go deep. So I'm not too afraid of too many things. And if I don't know, I'll just say I just don't know.
Love it.
I will do my best.
Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. So yeah, let's jump in. So welcome everybody. Han and I are so glad you're here. I mentioned if you have questions, go ahead and put them into the Q&A, and introduce yourself in the chat. We're going to talk for about 45 minutes and have some time towards the end to ask questions. And so yeah, we'll just start. I'll just introduce myself first for people that don't yet know me. My name is Marea Goodman. I'm a licensed midwife. I live in Santa Cruz, California. I'm a mom of 3 kids. One of them I gave birth to myself 2 years ago. He just turned 2 in the end of January. I am a home birth midwife. I've been recommending the book, The First 40 Days, for my whole career because I just deeply resonate with the information. And after I gave birth, I understood, even though I'd been a midwife for 10 years before giving birth, I didn't get it on a cellular level. I was supporting people to set themselves up during that time, but some deeper level of understanding hit me after I gave birth. And I just see, I know we're going to talk about fertility and pregnancy and postpartum and all of and beyond. But I really do see this time of the reproductive years as such potential transformation for healing and potentially trauma. It's both. And so I think these conversations are really essential. I also have a book that's about to come out called Baby Making for Everybody, Fertility and Family Building for LGBTQ+ and solo parents, and founded PregnantTogether. And today is actually our official opening day. It's an online community supporting pregnant people to thrive and connecting with each other. And we'll talk a little bit more about it at the end, and share a link to learn more. But as part of that project, every month we're talking to different experts, and Han is our first guest, and I'm so grateful to have you here. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I love that. Love that intro. And I love I love everything about it. So thank you. So, excuse me if I get really excited at a certain point, because I might get really passionate and I get really just excited. So yeah,
That's
great. So I am also a mother of three. No, one is now almost 20 this year. So this, so 2017 and 15, and one is in college. So this has been a very interesting ride, of course. I have I'm Chinese. I was born in Taiwan, and I, was raised in America. So I'm very also close to my family, who are acupuncturists and healers. And there's a lot of like resonance with that, because, after doing a lot of research with the books, I then find out that, there was like great grandfathers who are healers and acupuncturists, and grandmothers who wanted to become, a healer as well. But then she got deterred and, had to go a different direction. So there's just so much history with like the lineage of just going back, right? So then I was able to do a lot of discovery about like where I am at and, my own journey. And I completely respect that everybody has their own journey and own like line of how they're following it. I happened to stumble across Mother Bees about 12 years ago, because my family unit broke up, and I became a single mom, and I had to really figure out what that meant to me. So I just somehow I got really busy, and I just wanted to start cooking for people and to serve people, like especially like people who've just like given birth. Something about the birthing process that was really like exciting to me at that time, and of course now too. So I just wanted to make food for people. So I'm just like, okay, you're pregnant, I'm going to make food for you, I'm going to drop it off. That's like, let me know what you think. So I started that 12 years ago, and of course I just had a burning desire to be in the birthing community, because I've always loved birth, natural birthing, whatever it is, like baby's going to come out, like I'm just like, oh my God, I got to be there and like witness it and look at photos and look at the growth of the baby, like whatever like it is. I had to like put my like hands on it and like be part of it. Even though I'm not a midwife or doula, I've been at births, witnessed other births. But I have great admiration for birth workers and for your work and home birth midwifery, and, just anything that's alternative and that's different. And, I think we're in a great space right now, because we're, looking at the whole system right now. We're looking like, okay, how do we, be different? And I think this is why we're, I want to be part of this conversation, because difference is good. I love it. I love being different. I love being like an Asian American now. I did not when I was growing up, but it was very hard growing up in Ohio. But now it's like, this is awesome. This is, this is good. So
beautiful.
A little bit all over, but here I am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing a little about yourself. And I know before we hopped on, we talked about like that learning to use gender neutral language is a process. And I know that you are like so here for all people and all birthing options. And I just want to like extend this safe space to like, this is a process. And I try to use gender neutral language as much as possible. And, we will try as much as possible in this webinar. And there's also, I understand if there are moments that doesn't happen, and that's fine.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, this is it's new for me, honestly, right?
Yeah.
It's new. And also it's also new stating that, I'm a woman and I'm a mother and I'm a, Chinese American woman, mother and founder and all this. Oh, I could go on and on, right? So it takes a lot of maturity to come to a place of like, okay, this is who I am. And I might have 10, labels to me now, but yet now also I'm, like everything else, it's also expanding and growing along with everyone else too. So I'm in no place of judgment of anything or anybody, or because I'm always discovering things about myself. Right. So who am I to say?
May all of society have that approach moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know, in your books, nutrition wasn't the right title for this webinar because you talk about food and you give lots of recipes, but it goes so much deeper than that. And you talk about like the potential blocks that we may feel to treating ourselves in certain ways, and like how feeding ourselves is connected to our like whole sense of self and experience of the world and our spirituality. And I'm wondering if you feel like jumping into kind of like your philosophy about that and how you developed that. I heard you shared about your family and your ancestors, and there's like a strong lineage of healing. And so I'm curious what your journey has been to seeing health in that way.
Yeah. I mean, so I also understand that not everybody gravitates and relates to food, right? Because it's like, it's just the substance, like we just need to eat something and move on our day. We're eating standing up, we're eating with our phones. We're just like disconnected to food. And I completely understand that, respect that. Now, I think coming from my story is that, the love language in the Chinese culture, and I think like a lot of traditions, is food and the exchange of food and sitting around the table and, shouting and sharing and spitting and like doing all this interactive stuff. And you're just like trying to like eat, and fight for the food and like fight for the good bits and with your little chopsticks, and you're just like going in. Right. So it's always like, like what's our next meal when we're trying to finish our first meal. So it's, what's kind of fascinating too, is that I've never had the desire to cook for myself until I was in college, and, like in a rental home with a bunch of roommates. And I stood there in my kitchen and literally because my grandmother had passed a couple of years, prior to college. And I literally felt like she like literally came into my body and she was like, you must cook now. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay, I guess I now sense things. I now sense ingredients. I now sense a combination of food. But before that, I was like so disconnected to like wanting to cook anything. So after that moment, I was like, okay, I guess it's going to happen. Like I'm going to now start cooking, but this isn't college. So college was like, very minimal and simple, but it was, again, it's the feeling of, right? So, I'm grateful that I got the feeling of several things in the past, feeling of birth, feeling of, pregnancy, feeling of food, feeling of service, the feeling of, writing books. It is just little seeds that are planted. So these seeds that are planted a while back and now moving forward, they're just little messages that I would get and I would just put it away. And then all of a sudden it shows up in a massive way. Right. So I think it's really about believing and trusting. So, with the food component, it is just the gateway in, it is just the gateway into the communal sense of like, how do we come together? Yes, we need beautiful, healthy food. We know all this, organic, not organic, whatever the budget is. Like, I feel like I can go into any kitchen and make something really beautiful from anybody's kitchen, without any judgment, because the parents or the caregivers are the ones who are bringing the food into the home, and that's their choice and that's their tradition. And that is just what it is for now, until they want to literally change things and be maybe healthier or maybe eat cleaner or all the above. But there's just so many layers to it, right? Then we go to the emotional aspect, then we go to drama, then we go to triggers, then we go to like parent stuff, family stuff. And it's like, and then it goes to like the food.
Yeah.
A lot of like, there's a lot of like emotional eating. There's a lot of like, tied to food and things that we are subconsciously and unconsciously, tied to. So again, food is just like something that's very apparent, that's in front of us. And we could be like, okay, why do we choose one thing over another? Why does the mac and cheese kind of like feel like, oh, it feels nostalgic because when I was 7 years old living in Ohio, that's what we ate.
Right. Right.
So it's not a bowl of broccoli.
Yeah.
But
I love that framework of like you can't separate. It's like just holistic healing. Like you can't separate the food from like the whole health of an individual. But I think on the other side of that, food, because it is so tangible, because we all need to eat, is like there's like so much potential for that connection and healing. When you were talking, so my family is Ashkenazi Jewish, and my family now is mixed Jewish and Indigenous. My wife is Indigenous to the Southwest, so we try to incorporate our ancestry into the family, and we do Shabbat most Fridays. And one time many years ago, my daughter was maybe 8 or 9. And the little one at the time had gone to sleep. And I think my wife was at a birth, and we did this game where we had challah. No, actually, we had a tortilla, which we sometimes use instead of challah. And we had one plain one that we had just like heated up, and then the one that we had blessed for Shabbat. And we did like a blindfold test. And eating both of them and testing each other. And every time we could tell which was the one that we had blessed in the ceremony. Like it just tasted different.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, that just like that memory popped up when you were talking, because it's like, yeah, if you are eating the mac and cheese, but it has all this like healing, blessed energy, there's beauty there, there's healing there, and if you're eating the broccoli and you feel kind of crappy about it, it's just complex and layered.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that. I really love that. And also I love the tradition of, of also raising your children in the religion of your own creation, really, because you've taken the old and now you're modernizing it to like what your needs are, what your likings are. And also I've been celebrating with my Jewish friends here. I'm like, is it Shabbat? Is it Yom Kippur? I'm like, yay, we're gonna like 24-hour detox or 24-hour like no phones. And I'm not on my phone, and I see my other friends. I'm like, why are you guys on your phones? I thought that was like a 24-hour like.
I love that. Yeah.
Media detox, and they're like, no, we could go on our phones. I'm like, no, like we're fasting here.
Yeah.
So my kids kind of make fun of me. They're like, Mom, you're not really Jewish. I'm like, yeah, my uncle Steve is Jewish. I'm kind of Jewish.
Yeah, you got it. And whatever, if it feels nourishing, and just incorporating that ritual. And I think that's something that you weave into your books, is like this modern, sometimes assimilated into whiteness, US culture that we live in that doesn't support rest and nourishment in these ways, but like finding ways that work for you to integrate that. And I guess I'm wondering like what advice or just thoughts you have around like supporting people to do that in our own lives.
Yeah, I got the learnings and teachings from having, monthly cycles, right? Because, if you look at that, it's like 5 to 7 days of just really intense. It's pretty intense, right? It's like, there's so many details to it. And of course, our society kind of says, you know what, like put a tampon in and move on, and like go and like, put a, like throw the axe over your shoulders and like keep on moving. Right. So I really like to take that example. And, I think that's part of like how the postpartum period is too, if you really like elongate it out and stretch it out. And if we as a society, slow ourselves and our rhythm down to the rhythm of our cycles, right? and really look at like how our, the pace of our bodies and just, the rest periods and, the moment of like, wow, I just need a pause and I just need a warm drink, or I just need to sit on the couch, or I just need to go sit in a closet or in the bathroom for a minute longer. Whatever it is, that's what you need, because we are humans and we have our own body rhythms and seasons that we are obliged to really honor within ourselves. Right. So that is like the I think like the recipe to, to just I feel like it's like a more conscious way of being. And I think we're moving in that direction. We are just honoring that more now. Be like, hey, you know what? That was a really hard full moon. That was like, that was hard. And we're all going through this together, and we're doing this collectively. And, we're, respecting more of the just everything around us, environment, and closing off from the noise and going inwards. And then how many layers inwards can you actually move towards, like move into? And it can change every single month or every week or day. But I think like, if you just say like, I like to move in further and move out, and know that we're going to have states of feeling stagnant or boredom or, like neutrality. And it's going to maybe feel a little sad, and all these feelings are going to come up, and know that just around the corner, things are going to shift too. Right. So we're not going to be in the state forever. No state is forever. Right. It's like kind of like surges and, contractions during birth. It's like, it's not forever.
Right.
It's a beautiful state too. So it is just, being in the present, I guess.
Right. And being willing to check in with yourself and like, pull yourself away from the like, go, always producing society. Do you have ways, like, if you are feeling that way, but then you have a bunch of work that you need to do, do you have ways that you can still like practice tending to yourself, even in moments where like your environment makes it challenging?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm kind of like, because I have my kids half the time, I could really practice the ways of kind of like forming my own time and honoring my own body, because I feel like selfishly and also unselfishly, like I feel like if I don't function correctly, if my health is not at the best place, everything else is gonna like literally fall apart, because I don't think my kids are gonna throw me a homeopathic remedy every 20 minutes, because they're gonna be like, mom, like just take another arnica. I'm like, like no, I can't. So I actually really take care of my body first. I really do. I do my best. I also take a lot of pauses. I do a lot of transitions. I like, before I move into the next event of the day, I'll literally maybe sit in my car for another 2 more minutes just to kind of, center, because I know what's going to come next. Or I might just pick up the phone and call up, a good friend of mine who's an astrologer, I'd be like, okay, what's happening today? What's like, why is this happening? Why am I feeling this? And he'll always be like, oh, your Saturn is returning, and this is gonna be good, this is gonna be bad, this is gonna be whatever. Like, but then we have a good laugh, and then it all disappears. And again, I'm like, okay, that really is pretty cool, because you could literally shake yourself up just by having full belly laughs. And you can almost get there on your own without someone triggering that. You could just like laugh hysterically, and then you might trickle into like something that will shake your body up, and you're just like, okay, I'm out of that funk. Right. So I think like any tiny little moments like that kind of seem a little bit abnormal to some, but it works for me. I take a lot of hot baths. I do a lot of water rituals, or I do, just again, like a lot of pauses. And when things get busy, sometimes I don't sign up for the busyness. Sometimes I'll go the other direction, and I'm like, you know what? My body just needs a little extra 20 minutes, because when I'm on it, I can be on it 200%, and I'll do just right, and I'll get a lot done. And then the other part of the day or the week, I'm either resting or connecting or learning or just, retracting. Right. So it's not just the all do, right? Because the doing part can just be like, let's say like an hour, and like, because you can get a lot done. And another, like, let's say like 90% of the day, you're just working on yourself.
Love it.
Right.
I love that reframe. Yeah. I think a lot about like how being pregnant and the work of growing a human in our bodies is not honored in our society. And it's like, I don't know what it is, if it's like the baby's on the inside, so people aren't really used to seeing them as a real active participant, or it's so simple, but it's also so contradictory to what society wants us to believe. Like, I'm always reminding pregnant people, you are doing more than anything. Like you are doing so much just by existing and growing a person in your body, all the bones and organs and neurological, like it's wild to me. And pregnant people are still expected to go to work and work 9 to 5 and take care of other kids. And like, just, yeah. I guess just to talk about food and like the actual physical act of food for some time, like, I have your beautiful 9 golden months here. Like, what are your 3 favorite nourishing recipes for pregnant people, or what were your favorite ones when you were pregnant? Like, and what is it about that is so nourishing?
Yeah. So I think we have to just also visually see that I think it's like 30,000 taste buds are developed by the end of second trimester in the baby's
awesome.
tongue palate. So it's pretty awesome when you actually think and connect. So I think it's the disconnect that happens, right? Even within the mom or the parent themselves. It's like, well, yeah, it's kind of separate. My uterus is kind of separate. My everything is just like, it's just down there.
Right.
And I'm up here. I'm living from like here. I'm living from like here up.
Right.
Right. So then, if the parent isn't really in union form and also completely connecting, society is also disconnected too. Right, of really honoring. So I think this is why we're refocusing it back to the parent. I often also do like a meditation, or just like say to myself, like, I'll like go from like top to toe of like, I love my brain, I love my scalp, I love my retina, I go through every single like little layer of my body, and I do a whole scan, and I'll just like tell my body I love every part of it.
Yeah.
Right. Thyroids, like lymph nodes, like all the little tiny details. And if you do that for your baby too, that's pretty awesome, right? And then when you kind of visualize, okay, wow, those taste buds are really developed and they're developing. So whatever I choose to eat, whatever I choose to to buy, to consume, my baby is also going to be receiving that nourishment. And don't get me wrong, like, I love like fun food. I love like, of course, like growing up in Ohio, it's like, let's do it. I love pizzas. So I love fun food. So it's not like just eating kale salads all day long, because I'm not myself. I can't just eat plant all the time. So I need a lot more substance and just a lot more of the bitey hearty, meals. This is why I do a lot of like bone broths and stews, and like I think like food that like really feels like it's just like really going into my cellular level of like really like supporting it. But that's me. So that's why a lot of my recipes do have, like meat organs and bones and of course, like as well sourced as one can. But not everybody can source every single ingredient. I totally respect that too.
Right.
So it's like, like if there's a list of 10 ingredients, if you only get source 5, then you just work with that 5. And
Right.
you're going to be creating something really beautiful. And as you said earlier, it's really the intention that you put towards the buying, the prepping, the cleaning, the cooking component, the where your mindset is and what you're putting onto the food. Because I really feel like you could clear and clean anything that you're actually consuming, and how that's going to intentionally benefit and fully nourish your body and your baby's body.
That's such a good reframe. Like, I know when I was pregnant, well, before I got pregnant, I had all these ideas of like, oh, I'm going to just eat the most well-balanced diet. I'm going to be so healthy, like the healthiest pregnancy ever. And then when I got pregnant, I literally just wanted to eat grilled cheese sandwiches all the time. And I got really good at making grilled cheese sandwiches.
Yeah, with butter.
with mayo on the outside. So it gets crispy.
I gotta try that.
Oh, it's so good. But I know also, like, I talk to a lot of my clients that they are feeling guilty, especially in the first trimester, and they can only eat whatever, grilled cheese sandwiches or bananas. And some people are craving grilled cheese now. Me too.
With nice, yummy yellow cheddar.
Yeah. But I love that reframe of like, it's not just about whatever the vitamins and the protein and the fat. I mean, that stuff is important. And we know, in the medical community, like eating enough protein and fiber, like helps potentially prevent preeclampsia. And there's a lot of real things to consider too. Yeah. There's a lot to hold, but I think holding that it's not just about the nutrients and the 15 grams of protein in this meal. It's like about how you feel about it and the energy that you've used and how that's like nourishing you and your baby.
Absolutely. I think like the guilt and, that shame is even more traumatizing than the food itself.
Yeah.
Right. Because, again, it's the mindset. It's how we think about things, how we consume things, how we consume visuals, like everything that we're consuming and integrating into our body in our daily lives can be a very conscious choice, obviously. But also, it's true. Like, the first trimester, I get a lot of DMs and questions about nausea and, what can I eat? But then I'm like thinking like, okay, I can give all these like things to eat, but I'm like thinking like, I don't think you're going to be eating these things.
Right.
Because I know, because I was nauseous all 3 pregnancies. I was throwing up, and I lived in London for my first pregnancy, and I knew that I couldn't eat sushi textbook wise. I think I would eat it now, but that's just me. But also at that time, I would just sit at the sushi bar and I would like dip my ginger into my wasabi and soy sauce and like eat it without the sushi.
Oh,
Pretending I was like eating sushi.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then I'll eat my crackers along the side. I'm like, oh, that's a full meal.
Yeah, pickled ginger and crackers.
That's it. Yep, that's it.
Totally.
But again, as you just said, the body is the most miraculous way and being and body wise, and it just like, it's so cool how it just knows. So giving yourself forgiveness, forgiving yourself, giving yourself love and warmth and compassion, knowing how much your body is doing and what it's doing is, I think it's like, it's about being in the state of love and being in the state of like high frequency level. So, if you kind of like dip into place of like, oh shit, no, bad, no, like guilt, like mom saying this, dad saying this, like all this, like all these voices that are coming in,
right?
Then you might feel like, okay, I'm sinking into that place and I don't want to be there. So I'm going to lift myself up to be in a place of, you know what, I'm really going to enjoy this. I'm really going to be in the space of enjoyment and I'm feeling really good about this. And it's going to nourish my body, nourish my baby. I'm going to extract everything I'm going to get from this bite of food and remove anything that's not going to serve me and my baby. You know, you can just tell yourself that, you know,
I
and
love
know
that.
that this is just again, a transition. You're not going to be eating saltines for 3 years of your life.
Right. Totally.
Gonna end.
Yes.
And you're
yes.
gonna miss it, and you're gonna be like, how did I ever live off of that?
Yes. You said there are 30,000 taste buds that babies have in the second trimester.
By the end of second trimester.
That's so cool. And I know that amniotic fluid will take on subtle flavors of the food that pregnant people eat, and then in milk as well. And so it's just so it's what you are talking about is it's not just like those flavors and those nutrients, but also like that love and that energy and intention that goes through that as well.
It's true. I'm about to release a really cool little shortcut e-booklet about like feeding newborns food, nourishment, because I feel like it's so important to bridge, right, from parenthood to new babies to young babies, new children. Because like, you know, if we don't start here, then, you know, it all starts from the parent, right? So
that's great.
Yeah.
In like 7 minutes or so, we're going to kind of pause and invite people to ask questions. So you're welcome to put them in the chat now. We really want to like, be here as support to you, you know, if you're trying to conceive or pregnant or supporting pregnant people. But I have a question that I wanted to ask you before we do that. And I was looking back through the first 40 days and I saw a section about, it's called, Do You Deserve the First 40 Days? And I love that you put that there because, you know, I mean, it's in line with what we've been talking about, but it's like there are so many barriers that we may have to taking that leap towards self-love and feeling like we deserve to be taken care of during that time, feeling like we deserve to rest while we're pregnant or in the postpartum. And, you know, I think especially as people who are assigned female at birth and everybody in this society, like we're not, I believe that like self-love is something inherent to human beings that we lose through being socialized. And so I'm just wondering if you can talk about that or any thoughts about kind of like nourishing your own sense of deserving to take up that space.
Yeah. Awesome. Love the question. It's a big question, in terms of how much healing, how much self-discovery, how much one is willing and able and wanting and choosing to go there, right? Because, you know, obviously we can spend an entire lifetime be like, my dad did that, and that can go on and on and on, and keep on doing the blaming, you know, game. And I think it's really obviously looking at that inner child and being like, hey, you know what? Like, I get it. You know, I'm, you know, maybe that parent wasn't there for you, but I'm here for you. And you know, let's do this together. Right. So it goes pretty back, you know, in terms of like what one deserves and how one sees how much, you know, because like if you say like, oh, wait, do I deserve that? But then like you kind of subconsciously hear someone say like, oh, wait, you're being selfish. You know, like you don't deserve that. Like you didn't finish your task for the week. You don't deserve, you know, any extra money or anything. Like you don't deserve a donut. I mean, I don't know. But so there's a lot of that conversation that goes on. So that builds to the point of like, wow, I don't deserve rest or water or good nutrition, or it can go on and on. Right. So again, I literally had to like turn it all around where I'm like, no, like I seriously have this thing where I'm like, I can block a lot of noise out and I'll only listen to what I want to hear.
It's an amazing skill.
And also I can also have like a very short-term memory where it's like, oh, I don't remember any of that. So let's just stay present and let's just like, I'm here right now. Let's listen to what it is right now, and everything else from the past, I kind of don't remember. I
Mhm.
do, but I choose. So again, it gives you more room. It gives you more room to be like, wow, this is what I really want and need. I think the knowing of what you want and need is a big, big question to ask yourself a
Totally.
lot. And also I often like rate things. It's like, okay, whatever I have right now, my intermediate circle, it's like I rate it from 1 to 10. Hopefully everything in your inner circle is about a 10. Right?
Yeah.
Anything that's under that, you're like, well, okay, why is that a 6? Why are you choosing a 6 for yourself?
Right.
Right.
Right. So you're rating things on the scale of 1 to 10 of what you really need or want.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
And that's really literally in my inner circle. And
Right.
nothing is even a 9 in my inner circle. If I'm saying yes to anything, it's got to be a 10. So
Yeah.
anything below that's like, okay, that's what I'm going to look at. Why did I say yes to that? That feels
Right.
like a 4 or 6.
Right.
So then you can start to kind of look at like, oh, I said yes because I didn't want to disappoint, or I didn't want to say no, or it could, it goes on and on. And
Totally.
It becomes your own healing session.
Totally. Yes, but it offers opportunities. I love that very practical framework that offers opportunity to make different choices and also lovingly reassess the choices that you made before, and without the shame, blame thing.
Yeah. And that goes to, choosing your birthright professional, right? Because that's a humongous deal. You're at your most vulnerable state. You're going to be reaching the state of death in life. You're going to experience that line, and you got everybody in that space that you can hopefully control. It's got to be a full-on 20.
Yeah. Yes.
That's like what other experience and environment is gonna need that from you, to say that. So
right. Yeah. And I think that goes, I talk to people about choosing their birthplace, and, if home birth is right for them and choosing a midwife, that's awesome. And I understand that that's not an option for a lot of people, and being able to be in touch with what do you love about hospital birth, and why are you choosing this practice, and can you because I think so many people just do that subconsciously and don't think that they have options, and our society doesn't teach people that the doctor is actually working for them, and you can fire a doctor in the middle of pushing if you don't like them. You can, being in touch with what is a 10 for you is just such a beautiful practice in all of life.
Absolutely. That is its own book on its own, isn't it? That is its own sacred space. And I love that space. And then you're able to kind of find a voice and words for it, because then it becomes something that's out of your own, just thought and secrets, and oh, I wish, but now I can't. And then becomes resentful. So it's a really, it's so powerful when you really kind of get aligned to it and start to habitually, be in that place. And also you could do it non-aggressively, right? You can do it gracefully.
Right.
And that's awesome. I love that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. I feel like we could talk for the next 6 hours, but I also know that we want to give time for questions. And this is a little transition, and you mentioned that you take a little time before transition. So I want to just take a breath and, invite anybody here to just get back into your body and take a breath and take a second. I'm going to drink some water.
Thank you.
And from this place, if anybody has thoughts or questions, doesn't have to be a specific a specific question. If you could put in the Q&A, that would be awesome, but I will also look at the chat. Great. We got a few questions. I'm going to read them to you, Han, and you tell me what you want to talk about first. So Jennifer asked, could you say a little bit about what you'd offer parents about feeding in the newborn stage? Camille said, do you have any go-to meals for parents who work 9-to-5 jobs? A lot of these parents are too tired to cook, but want to eat well. And then Vanessa's wondering, what would you recommend for food if someone suffers from hyperemesis? Those are all great questions.
All
Thank
really
you,
good
everybody.
questions. Yeah, thank you. The 9-to-5 job career is a big deal. I think that I have so much respect for someone that needs to go to work, get themselves up, and being pregnant or having a family or a young family and coming home and needing to cook, clean, shop, homework, tantrums, all of it. So I'm a big component of like eating really simple. I don't want to really complicate a lot of things, especially with the 9 golden months. The first 40 days I was really gung-ho about like creating all these like beautiful recipes, but not everybody can like go and source and like go pick a goji berry or something. So that was my initial dream. But now the 9 golden months, it's like I want to like stick to like one pan, a few ingredients. Again, like, I think it's easy to eat well and on a budget, and you cook in bulk. I'm a big component of like just cooking a little extra for dinner, because then you have that for lunch the next day, or you can give it to your kids. I always like pull out some food from dinner for my kids' lunches. And I always feel so good about doing that. I'm like, yes, lunch is done. Maybe a little extra for breakfast. And that's awesome. And of course, like these days, kids can eat anything at school. But so like eating, like choosing things that are simple, like simple, but yet you just know, like you want to eat your greens and your veggies first, want to eat a little bit of protein and some starch or carbs at the end. So I think like when you have that mentality, then you could just pick and choose anything to fit in these little like, boxes. Right.
I recently made a YouTube video that has like a bunch of super simple, healthy, easy to make recipes. And Allison, maybe you could put that in the chat. But like one of the things that we do in our family is I make a bunch of quinoa and I cook it in bone broth. And then I just have it, for however long it lasts, or I'll like roast a whole chicken and then use, we'll have it for dinner and then we'll have leftovers. And then I make the bone broth with the meat. Like I have like a little crock pot cycle, and just like figuring out those go-tos, I think that work for you.
I love that, because, because your bone broth is a foundation. So with that, you could, you just know that, again, I also think like, okay, we got the foundation down. We got the, minerals and the protein and, the nutrient dense, ingredients down. And now we can apply that to a little bit of bone broth in your veggies, or in your quinoa, and your, whatever you're cooking, you can apply that. Right.
Or you have that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, so true. Like you just have it for the week. And it's easy. I mean, it's easy, but yet like it's kind of not so easy to make a bone broth. But yet, like I think like when you're boiling any kind of bones, and whatever the taste is at the end, you're gonna get something from it.
Totally. And just, I mean, we have our crock pot going all the time. And it's like, okay, if I'm too tired to actually make a meal and I have that quinoa and I just like chop up some red cabbage and put olive oil and a little vinegar on it, like that's fine,
That's
just
perfect.
like simplifying it as much as possible.
I love it. No, that sounds really good. Actually, I would totally eat it. Because again, like I would totally eat anything that anybody makes for me or makes. I'll try anything.
Do you want to talk a little bit about feeding Well, actually, Jennifer, can you clarify your question? You wanted to know about feeding in the newborn stage. Do you mean feeding yourself while you're in the newborn stage? Or do you mean like, because when I first read your question, I thought feeding babies, the booklet that you
Oh,
mentioned.
yes. Yeah. So that's gonna come out. I think it should be about, I would say like about 1 more month. So it's got lots of awesome tidbits. And it's not just recipes because, again, I feel like recipes can be like sourced anywhere. This is really about, really doing some kind of awesome self-transformational work if one is ready. And again, like this is a whole nother topic and conversation, but this, is the most beautiful time in our lives of, entering into motherhood and entering into the next stage and phase. So I'm all about excavating. I'm all about like looking at what is and what isn't, and removing and accepting and receiving and serving and be in that space. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm, again, like, I want to develop really great, healthy eating habits that are simple, starting from the parent, that will then, obviously the child will then take the parent's lead, right? The child always takes suit, right? So I'm very grateful. My kids are on their own. Everybody can cook everything. And like all my kids can write a food blog about something. I'm like, Jesus, like all you're doing in college is cooking. Like that's all she does. And she's always sending me photographs of like kimchi stew and like whatever it is, chicken tacos. Like, I'm like, Jesus, like you guys really learned a lot.
So
when we didn't really think they did. They really did. So now that they're on their own, they're making great choices. They're not eating sugars. I'm the only one. I'm like, do you guys want a frozen yogurt? They're like, Mom, we don't, but do you? I'm like, I guess I so so they didn't grow up on sugars, right? So that's not their go-to. So there's a lot of these little tidbits and tricks and like, how I raise my kids, because I'm really honored that I really feel like I have a great they have a great respect and language with food.
Nice. And what I know sometimes, like, there's that narrative of being like a self-sacrificing mother or parent. And, there's kind of that culture that I think we're trying to shift around not taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of other people. But what I heard you say and what I love thinking about is like, oh, actually, by taking care of ourselves, we are then more able to take care of other people. And then we are modeling to our children how they can take care of themselves. And like, that's actually the healing of the generations. It's not like burning ourselves to the ground and using our last energy to care for them. Like it's like this false narrative.
Yeah, it totally is. It really is. And I think this is a beautiful time again of like, we're in a really awesome time right now. We're looking at whatever is old and like transforming it like as we're speaking right now. So if we look at everything, all the narratives, all the stories that we've told ourselves, and we're like, no, it doesn't belong to me. That's like soul news.
Right.
And I'm not gonna like, sign up for it. And I'm going to alter it. And now, like, the next generations are going to be like, oh no, I'm going to extract that from you and for my own.
Right.
So what you can really filter now is going to really benefit the next generations. The more you filter now.
Right.
And transmute it.
Love that. Let's talk about hyperemesis a little bit, which I know is so hard. You mentioned that you had a lot of nausea. I know. Did you have hyperemesis or just you had nausea throughout your pregnancy?
I just had not. I mean, it just felt
rough.
It just felt like the world, the everything's just gonna end, and like the world is just gonna like no, it's a day-to-day scenario, isn't it? You know what? Some tidbits that I've learned throughout the pregnancies is that, and I worked with my midwife. I'm still very close with my midwife now, and she still does my women care. So I have deep respect again, but I've learned that deep rest whenever you can, power naps keeping yourself hydrated, keeping your proteins up, maybe have a little bite of protein before you get out of bed, moving your body can help. But again, like rest and hydration is a big deal.
Bone broth, if you can do it.
A little sip of that. Yeah.
Right.
And also warm waters and hot. I sip on hot waters all day long. So that's my go-to. But eating what you can and what you feel like at the very moment. And again, no judgment, no, shame around it. Cause you're just literally like surviving. It is. And also another thought came in is that, when we throw up, it's kind of like we're releasing toxins. So if you kind of think, okay, I'm releasing, maybe it's an emotional toxin, maybe it's an energetic toxin that's like your baby's like, oh, I'm gonna get this out of you. I'm gonna release this from you, and maybe it's like a surrendering to, oh, okay, this is good. This is the time to do it.
Wow.
Instead of like fighting it and being like, because right, like when we throw up, we're really releasing. Or needing to get it, like we need to remove it out of our body. So, because so many medical, like the language is like, I just don't know why. Like, go and eat your Ritz. I don't know. Go, just go.
Right.
I don't have an answer
there's
for you.
There's no
like,
understanding of anything besides like the physical body
or hormones.
Is all of
it's
it.
Like hormones. It's like
hormones
they get blamed
powerful.
for a lot.
They do. They are powerful.
They're so subtle, and they're like the quiet ninjas that
yes.
They're like, wait, what was that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. We maybe have time for one more question, but we should probably wrap up if no one has any further questions. And I want to share Han's website, which is motherbees.com, and you can sign up for her mailing list and get access to that awesome booklet that I'm excited to read when it's out. And then you can also sign up for our Pregnant Together mailing list. If you go to PregnantTogether.com, our community is officially open today. So I'm just really passionate about supporting pregnant people. And I loved this conversation. It's like just really deep and so much, so many things to think about and like so much potential for healing. And I really see this time of pregnancy, like we're literally gestating the next generation. And so what we hear, what we put in our bodies, like the people that we surround ourselves around, it matters. And I would say the vast majority of pregnant people in our society don't get the support that they need and deserve. And so I'm hoping that Pregnant Together can be like a community place that also provides like empowering information and just that like sense of connection and safety that people need and deserve. And I don't feel like we have that in our society. As a midwife, I get to offer that to individual people, but there's so much more that needs to happen. And so I feel like you're doing that through your books and your food. And if people don't know, at Mother Bees, you can also order meals, which is so awesome. But yeah, just here's to healing and understanding ourselves and letting ourselves rest and nourishing ourselves in all the ways.
Amazing. Beautiful. I mean, congratulations too.
Thank you.
To you. Yeah. To your
Thank
family,
you,
to the community. And thank you everyone for spending the time with us today too. I know it's a commitment and it's an investment too. And I'm honored to be here having this conversation with you.
Thank you. Okay. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Thank you. Yes.
Bye.
You too. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye.